The uniqueness of the Thomas Fire was how quickly that fire spread. When it initially started in Ventura County, it devastated that community in the first 24 hours. One day it moved 60,000 acres and 6 miles in a 24-hour period, which is unprecedented for fires in our front country. 14 different states sent fire personnel to fight this fire. It's the most fire personnel assigned to a fire in California history. At the peak of it, we had almost 9,000 fire personnel assigned to this fire.
During a major fire, the incident is run by an incident management team that directs all the firefighters on how to contain the fire. In a major fire like this, we often have all these other things that are going on as a result of the fire. People are being evacuated. We had terrible issues with smoke and ash. We had a gasoline tanker overturned in the middle of the whole incident. These are the sort of things that Emergency Operations Center is built for. It's one big roof, and underneath that roof is all the agencies that can come and support the impacts of the fire, so that the fire itself is not burdened with dealing with things like, how do we care for people that have access and functional needs? How do we deal with their pets and their horses? And how do we take care of people on the outside? How do we make sure that the law enforcement folks and the soldiers that came are being taken care of, they have lodging and food? That's what we can do at an Emergency Operations Center.
The way the speed and the weather conditions of how this fire moved, it was a really strong likelihood that it could reach Highway 154. And with that, with all of the communities in our front country between Santa Barbara City, the unincorporated area, the Montecito, Carpinteria, Summerlin areas, we had a lot of community members and houses and structures that were going to be jeopardized that we really had to take into consideration.
We're constantly trying to think ahead in days ahead, and then also deal with those issues that we don't expect that come up, and then deal with those.
Key was to pass out information and distribute timely information so the community and residents would be informed and feel comfortable with how we were working the fire. We had town hall meetings at San Marcos High School for multiple days in a row that we've never done before.
The evacuation areas, the mandatory evacuation areas, have not changed. We still expect days of activity on this fire.
We established a staging area at the La Cumbre Shopping Center, and that's where all our allied agencies and evacuation resources came for briefing, assignment, and staging.
The county is divided into evacuation zones, pre-planned evacuation zones. Within those zones, what we're doing is taking those and we're subdividing those to go out and make the evacuation notices. We'll put probably 2 to 3 teams in each one of these, and then we'll give out the assignments, and they'll go door to door in order to evacuate all this area.
Santa Barbara Sheriff, search and rescue.
We also have log sheets of each team, and we fill out the addresses they've gone to, if they've been contacted, if someone's there, are they evacuating, if they're not, we get their phone number and some other information. All these were pre-planned before today as far as evacuations. Mainly this is Montecito area right below San Ysidro and Hot Springs Canyons that we are concerned about coming down last couple days. But it's obviously expanded west and now into the city.
Search and rescue was instrumental in the evacuations. I can't give them enough accolades. They're all volunteers. They do this on their own time, and when we call them, they drop everything that they're doing. They go into harm's way. They go into smoky areas, and they work long hours and then return to their private lives and go back to work with little or no sleep.
Let's go, 51. I can go look at them.
The interesting thing with fires and with evacuations is not only does it take a lot of resources to do the evacuations, then it's the next 12, 24, 48 hours that you need to continue that presence to not only man all of the hard closures as well as provide an abundance of saturation patrols to make sure we're protecting those communities and those residences where the people had evacuated. So we're ultimately responsible for the safekeeping of their belongings. We had poor air quality and it was unhealthy. Schools closed well before the Christmas break, as well as a lot of people self-evacuated because of the poor air quality. Thanks to Public Health, Direct Relief, and the Medical Reserve Corps, who passed out over 350,000 masks to the community in order to help them with poor air quality.
We're fortunate in California that we can mobilize a firefighting force as large as the one that was here. Never been as big as this. And even though we have major mega fires here in California, to have a deployment of that many resources and that many law enforcement and soldiers to be able to secure those neighborhoods that were evacuated is really something that we all in California need to be proud of. And the reason this fire went out was not because of weather change. This fire went out because of good firefighting.
So due to a lot of the fire terrain, it was not accessible by foot. The air attack between helicopters and fixed wing was very important. Santa Barbara County Air Support Unit was instrumental in providing 24-hour water drops throughout the incident. Firefighters came with the same mission and they did a fabulous job. It was a pleasure working with them in a unified incident command.
Thanks, Lieutenant Huddle, for being our representative in Ventura, and thank you, Rob Lewin, for the great job you did in the Emergency Operations Center. Your leadership is much appreciated. We at the Sheriff's Office want to thank all of the firefighters from throughout California and the nation who so bravely fought to protect life and property, both on the ground and from the air. We want to thank every allied law enforcement agency and the California National Guard for assisting us with evacuations and helping patrol the evacuated areas. We want to thank the huge number of support personnel who provided administrative, food, mechanical, and other services to this army of firefighters and cops. And lastly, we want to extend a big thank you to the residents of Santa Barbara County who were impacted by this devastating fire. You were incredibly patient and cooperative. Fighting this troublesome fire was truly a team effort. Sergeant Mark Williams was one of the deputies assigned to patrol the evacuated areas. Here he takes us on a ride-along, showing us what he found while driving through areas the fire burned in Montecito.
I'll tell you my experience with the many fires I've worked before. The crews that are there on the ground actively evacuating people are crucial, and their intercommunication to talk to each other either directly with radio or just in person, whether you run into another unit. It's hard for people to have good real-time intelligence on what's going on when the winds are moving that fast. Most of our deputies who've worked these before, they know that you need to get people notified and out of their houses quickly. Pretty much anybody who's working will grab the essential things that they need, they'll jump into a car, and they will head out to the danger zone. So everyone's fleeing, we have deputies that are jumping in cars, and they're going to notify and evacuate people. And it has to happen quickly. Right now we're in the hills, the foothills above Montecito, and as you can see down the hillside here, we do have a house that was destroyed by the Thomas Fire. And if you can just look at the Montecito area, you can see the amount of fuel, the trees that can burn. So there's so much fuel. And again, with the winds, that's why it's such a dangerous combination.